And here we go. 25.1, part 17, or sentence or paragraph 17. And nay, unless the precursus, this is like the front running of the sagittoriums of the bowman, should disyacurat, should put into, what do we call that? Disarray or them or something. Cuneus nostrum, this is the wedges or the battle formations of our men. So these archers on the enemy side. In latus signus, so the standards are all in latus, ferre tuli latus, brought forward consciatius, which is comparative, rather quickly, fregat, which broke the impetus or the force of the spiculorums. That's the pointy bit of the arrows. Dato que, we'll take it with signo, and with the sign given, the signal given solemnly here, that's the adverb, for de conandum, for the contest or for the fighting. The densetae Romani, the densely packed Romans, what did they do? They protruserant, they pushed away with niso aceramus, with, that's the superlative, with the extreme amount of force. The frontes, pedites, the front footmen, or what do you call footmen? Anyway, infantry, confertus, so it was packed together of the enemy. So the front infantry of the enemy were pushed away with a great deal of force. 18. Et fervente molim, and so like, with a burning mass of curtamina of the people fighting, the sound, the sonatus of cliporums, of shields, vivorum, and of men, qui, and of arms, lugubre in a mournful way, the fragga, that's like another din, so we've got these sound contrast with this sound, sibilantium of the hissing, probably the hissing of arrows, nihil perpetiens, so this is, perpetiens means endured to the end. So there was nothing remiss, so there was no break of these sounds and fighting. Campos is accusative, so all this context had covered the campus, the plains, with cruor, that's blood and gore, and with the strag corporum, and with littered dead bodies around. Effusius cadentibus, so cadentibus means falling, so it looks like the Persians are more effusively falling, so there's more of them being killed, I'm guessing. Quibus sapi, with which they are often in conflicts, they have languid artius, so their limbs or their bodies aren't suited for long fighting, they become languid and wore out, when pes to ped conlatus, obsistabat, so when they're resisting or they're fighting, gravita means seriously, when it's the fighting is conlatus, it's been brought foot to foot, so at comminus distance is the adverb they usually use, hand-to-hand combat, close to close, foot to foot. They're a bit languid when it comes to that. So fortita consueta, so they're accustomed to pugnare, to fight more fiercely or bravely at Ammianus, the opposite of comminus, which is close. Ammianus means long distance. And C is a condition if they sensorent the copias suorum, that their forces are inclining or caving in, by sedendo, by seeding, in the way of rain, imbrium, versus pone, so in the direction behind them, with fiducia, they would rely on deterring the hostes, the enemy, from persequending, from following with a direct succession of arrows or something like that. Igitor, therefore, pondere, by the weight, pulsus magnarum virium, so by the pushing or forces of great strength, virium, the Parthis miles, we've got the soldiers, Parthian soldiers, by the flamio cursor, by the flaming course solus of the sun, DUI for a long time, Lasatus, looks like our soldiers are the ones who are tired from being in the sunlight for so long. With the dato signo, with the signal, maybe blast of horns given for receptum to retreat, we repudiated, or the singular miles. Miles is singular, and singular. Our soldiers refooted into their tentorias, into their tents, to maiora audentes, to greater boldness, de inceps in turn sublatus. So they were led to believe that there would be bigger and more daring things would happen in turn after this. 19. In hoc prolio, in this battle, major payer persarums, as dictum est, as is said, looks like the strags or the deaths appeared, major more of the Persians, and of us, nostrorum, it was ad modum levis. It was fully or extremely light or very light losses. Tamen, nevertheless, imminuit, not to be confused with minuit, which means diminish. So imminuit means to stand out or be eminent. Inter varios curtiminus, amongst the various contesting or struggles on the battlefield, casus, mors, was the death of a triple genitive, Vetronius viri pugnacius. So there's this pugnacious man called Vetronius, and he died, who was regabating. He was in control of the legionem, legion of the Xenorums. Okay, that's the end of 25.1. Now we're on to 25.2. Okay, so there's our daily dictionary word, imino, eminio. Translation: stand out, be prominent, preeminent, excel, or project. And there's minuo itself, which means lessen or diminish. So the E in front gives it its meaning. And onto this, postque. So post these things, after these things, a tridio destinato, or so 3 days were destined or given over to indutius, which is a truce. Dum, while quisque, while each one was medicating or healing suo vulnerables, their own wounds, or vel, or their proximate, someone near them, we were destitutos. We were destitute from comedibus, which is provisions, and inedia crucibat. We were being tortured by famine, basically. I think we get inedible from that, but it means a bit different in Latin. It means hunger, which Yam non ferenda, which now already could not be ferended, could not be borne or tolerated. Et quoniam, in sense, frugibus exhaustus and pabulus. So frugibus is fruits, or you might want to extend it a bit more, and the pabulus and the fodder, being exhaustus, mean burnt. The homines, the men, venerant, had come into discreme and ultimum, into the ultimate crisis, and the jumenta, the pack animals. From which food, ex eo kibo, which the animalia, the plural, neuter, the animals of the tribunes were vehemented, carried. So from the which food that was carried by the animals of the tribunes and comitum, usually means people who accompany you, but in later Latin it probably means more higher up ranking people. Ime usually means at the bottom. Plebi, also militium. So the lowest plebs of the soldiers. Penitus, probably means they were deeply. So this part that was distributed to, who had magna, great lacking. So the lowest of the plebs and the soldiers who had a great lacking part was distributed to them. And that's how far we go today. 2. And the imperator, the emperor, cui, to who, non capadia ciborum, it's like a cake or something, from the more regio, so according to the royal customs or princely customs, he did not get to have his little cake of food, said, but sub columellus what have we got here? Under the small columns of his tent, where he was about to eat, or in his kitchen or whatever it was, Parabator, there was prepared an exiguous amount, which means a small amount, a portion, a poultice of porridge or something. Which etiam, even, would be fastienda, scorned, or you'd turn your nose up, to a Gregoria, to a lower ranking soldier. It looks like munificia, usually means magnificent or something. So a common soldier would normally scorn this, but quicquid, whatever there was, postulabantur demanded for ministeria for their needs. He guested, or he divided it out through the poorest tents, contubernea. Usually it can involve your tent mates, etc. So paupertina means it's poor. So through the poorest tents, sui means his own, securus, and then he divided it up. So he had a small amount of cakes, it looks like, that he was about to eat. He didn't have them actually, and he had porridge. And he divided that up to the lowest soldiers. And 3, so the sui was what each man would need to be secure. Anyway, autem, however or moreover, himself, that would be the emperor, to a solicitam and suspenseful quietem, an anxious and suspenseful rest. Polispa means for a little while, so it was protracted out. And when he depulsoed somno, so he cast off the sleep as usual, as he was accustomed to. So he was trying to have a rest for a little bit, but it looks like he couldn't. To emulate Julius Caesar, he was scribens. He was writing sub pellis, under the pelts that the tents are made out of. It was certain things. Obscurio noctis altitude. So obscuro means in the darkness. Altitude, probably the deep darkness of the night. He was tenorating. He was holding or grasping the works of some philosopher. Vidit, he saw through the squalidness. This is the dimness. As confessus, as he had confessed to his proximates, to his peers or his nearby people, the specium, the appearance of the public genius, or genie or a ghost or something maybe, which when he was surgerating, rising to the culmen, the peak, to the Augustem peak, I don't know if that should be a capital A anyway, he had sought, conspexed in Gaul, so Julius Caesar must have seen when he was in Gaul, the public genie. I don't know what they call it in English, but it's maybe a god or something even. Velata, so it was veiled, cum capite, with its head veiled. Discidentim, leaving, he saw this ghost-like figure or image leaving through the aureola, this is the curtains of his tent or something, with a veiled head, rather tristeously, rather grimly. And you could pull that apart if you wanted to, but that's it for the day.